Hi there folks, I'm out at the range today and I'm trying out some cast bullet reloads in my Savage 340 30-30. So these are an RCBS 3180 SP bullet, sized 309 inches with a Hornady gas check. They're in federal brass, which is full length sized. They have an S&B large rifle primer, overall length of 2.632 inches. And the unusual thing about them is that they have 36 grains of Dupont IMR-4350, and that's really old powder being made by DuPont. This stuff's probably 50, 60 years old anyway. Anyway, we've got the chronograph set up and a target. Let's see how they do at 100 yards. All right, here are 5 rounds with the 30-30 at 100 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the squares are 1 inch. So it looks like about 2 3/4 inches extreme spread horizontally. And what are we looking at for vertical there? Probably 1 1.25 inches for that. And another 5-round group of the 30-30 reload at 100 yards. It's interesting how much it's moved over from the previous stuff that was fired, primarily because I was using the sling this time with a little bit of sling tension. So it's moved the point of impact over, a good 2.5 inches to the right. So interesting to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got what, 2 3/4 again for horizontal, and probably close to 2 for vertical. Okay, we are back home from the range, and it's time to review the load again and the chronograph results. So you can have a look here and see the load particulars. The 2 interesting parts of it are the bullet, which is the RCBS 3180 SP bullet, cast of wheel weight metal, and those were water dropped out of the mold to harden them. That bullet comes out at 193 grains with a Hornady gas check applied, and it was sized 0.309 of an inch because that's the size that the bullet comes out of the mold, so no point in using a bigger sizing die. The powder used was 36 grains of Dupont IMR-4350. And it came out of this vintage can. I picked this can of powder up last year, and it truly is vintage. It's DuPont brand. It's not the IMR brand, it's DuPont IMR. And this stuff was made by E.I. DuPont Nemours and Company, Wilmington, Delaware. And this is the American manufactured powder. The current stuff you get is IMR branded, which is IMR is just a brand which was sold by DuPont, and IMR in turn was sold to Hogden. So this is old powder. I believe that date code or production code is February the 6th of 1973, so a 51-year-old can of powder, but it was sealed when I got it, and it smelled just like a freshly opened can of powder. It had that ethery smell off it. The seal was still on the can. The top of the can has gotten discolored from sitting around, but the bottom looks fine. The interior of the can was perfect, so I don't think there was any deterioration of this powder. It seems to be working just as advertised. So here are the individual shots. We fired a total of 17 of them over the chronograph, and we got an average speed of 2,013 feet per second, standard deviation of 19, and an extreme spread of 69 feet per second. And that's at 6 degrees Celsius out of the Savage 340, which has a 22-inch barrel. So you can see there's our low speed, 1975, and our high speed, 2,044. So overall, I would say this was a fairly successful load. My objective was to use this particular powder up and to also get performance that was hopefully similar to that of a full power factory 170 grain jacketed load. And I think we've accomplished that because this load gives 1,736 foot-pounds of energy. The accuracy was reasonable. It wasn't terrific, but it wasn't bad either. A 170 grain jacketed bullet out of a similar length barrel, the 22-inch barrel, will give somewhere around 2,100 feet per second for 1,665 foot-pounds of energy. So this load actually bests the jacketed factory load by a little bit. And the nice thing about this sort of load is it's a very full case of powder. It's basically 100% load density, which I think contributes to the good standard deviation and extreme spreads. And like I said, I was looking for about 2,000 feet per second, and you couldn't get too much closer than that, 2013 for an average. So pretty happy with that. It's a fairly thumpy load. You can tell you're firing a full power load when you're shooting it. It doesn't feel like your average reduced cast bullet load. So if you've got some 4350 powder kicking around, it might be worth trying a similar load yourself in your 30-30 to see if you can get close to factory levels of performance. Anyway, I guess that'll do it for today. Thanks for swinging by to watch the video. As always, your comments and ratings are appreciated, and if you like the videos, you might want to think about subscribing. Anyway, until later, talk to you then.